Hey guys, welcome to part 6 of this Selenium WebDriver with JavaScript video series on the Lambda Test YouTube channel. My name is Ryan, and during this video we're going to focus on adding reporting into our existing Selenium WebDriver test project. Now, so far we've only been able to view results via the command line. So by the end of this session, we'll be able to view the passed and failed results of each of our tests via an HTML report. Now, to do this, we're going to be using a tool, a node package called Mochawesome. So to begin with, let's have a look at what Mochawesome is and how we can use that. Once we've understood that, we're going to add Mochawesome capabilities into our existing project, which is super simple to do. Once we've added those reports, we'll run our tests through again and we'll check the results, this time on the newly generated reports. And as ever, at the end, we'll just have a quick recap of everything that we've done during this video. So let's have a look at what Mochawesome is. Mochawesome is a node package which enables us to create custom reports specifically for the Mocha test framework. Now, we've already implemented Mocha in our existing Selenium WebDriver test, so we'll be able to utilize Mochawesome to generate some reports for our test execution. Now, so far when we've run our tests, we've only been able to view those results via the command line. Now, this isn't very pretty, nor is it easy to distribute those results to other team members or stakeholders. Using Mochawesome, we can generate prettier HTML reports, which can then be sent out to relevant parties to review. Can also make it a little bit easier to understand which tests have passed and which tests have failed. Now, we don't actually have to make any code changes to our existing tests in order to generate Mochawesome reports. What we do need to do is install it into our project and then update our test runner command in order to generate those Mochawesome reports. So let's do that now. So to add Mochawesome into our existing project, we just need to open that project up in our IDE, launch the terminal, and from here we can install it in the same way that we've installed other packages into our project. And that's by using npm install followed by the package name, like that, and this will install the package into our project. Now, as I mentioned previously, we don't actually need to make any code changes to our existing tests in order to start generating reports with Mochawesome. We do, however, need to update the flags in our test command when we execute our tests. So far what we do is we run Mocha and we use the parallel flag to indicate that we want to run our tests in parallel. So to start generating reports, we just need to add some additional flags to the end of this. So everything in there at the moment stays the same, but at the end I'm going to add a space, hyphen, hyphen, then we'll add our first flag, which is reporter, like that, to indicate that we're going to be using a report generator, and then the name of that report generator. So we're using mock. Awesome. So if we were running our tests in serial mode, then this would be sufficient enough for us to start generating reports. But because we're using this parallel flag to run our tests in parallel, we just need to add an additional flag. So once again, I'm just going to add a space, hyphen, hyphen, and then require Mochawesome/register, like so. Now what this does is registers Mochawesome as a hook, which we need to do when running our tests in parallel. Now this is all documented in the Mochawesome documentation, so it's worth having a look through that documentation and understanding everything that's required in order to generate these reports. But for us, this is enough to start generating them now. So I'm going to save this, and I'll close our package.json file down, and then we can open up the terminal once again, and we can execute our tests. npm test, and let's run. So you can see now that this has picked up our new test command. So we've now got the reporter Mochawesome flag and our require flag for parallelization. There go our tests. They have completed. So if I go back to VS Code, you can see that we still get the terminal output for our tests. So we can still see that we've got 2 passing tests. But in addition, we now have a new directory which has been generated by Mochawesome. So in the next section, we'll look at what's actually in this directory. So we've run our tests, and we've noticed that in our project we have a new directory, this Mochawesome-report directory. So if I expand this directory, you can see that we have an additional directory called assets here, along with 2 more files below. So inside assets, you'll see that there is a number of different files. Now we don't really need to worry about these. This is the information that Mochawesome needs in order to generate the reports. So we can minimize this, and we can focus on the 2 files we are interested in, this .json file here and this .html file. So if I start with the .json file, you'll see that it contains the raw information relating to this particular test execution run. So for example, we can see the number of tests, importantly the number of passing tests, and things like the start and end time and overall duration. If I scroll down a bit, we can see the individual results for each run, and from here we can see things like the description and the it description that we've specified in our test files. We can see the name of the file which has been executed, and particular information about this particular run, how long it took, whether it passed or failed, and so on. If I scroll down a bit, I can see the first test.js file here, which has also been executed. Now obviously we only have 2 tests, but if we had many more, they'd also be documented here as well. You can see which version of Mocha is used in your execution, and also any particular options used when generating the Mochawesome reports. Now, again, this is really useful and can be used to integrate with, CI/CD, or even used to generate your own custom reports. But if I close this down and navigate to this HTML file instead, we can actually see what the report looks like. So this is what Mochawesome has generated for us. You can see that it's split up our tests, and we can click on this to expand and actually see the test code that has been executed as part of this test. We can also see things like the time it took to execute that test. So we can also expand this one and see, we know in our instance these are the same at the moment, but again, if you had many different tests, you'd be able to see them all here. So we've seen what the Mochawesome report looks like when we have 2 successful tests. So let's have a look at what it looks like if we have a failed test. So back in VS Code, I'm just going to change our second test.js file, and I'm going to do 2 things. First of all, I'm going to add a new it block to our describe block. So this will be a brand new test, and I will call it adding a new test for reporting, just so we can see that it's different in the report. And then this one, I'm going to change the expected text to learn JavaScript. Now, because I've changed the expected test, this test is actually going to fail. So we should see the test in first test.js pass, one of the tests in second test.js pass, and the other one in that same file fail. So if I open up the terminal again and do npm test and execute our tests, so now we've got 3 tests which are going to run. We should see that reported on the terminal in a minute, and then we'll have a look at what it looks like in the Mochawesome report. So it's just running the final test now. This one's stopped because it's actually failed. So if I go over to Visual Studio Code, you can see that that test has failed. So we've got 2 passing and 1 failed as expected. So if I open up this directory again, these files get overwritten with each run. So these will be our new files. So we can open up this one in our browser and take a look at what it looks like now. So now we can see this add to dos test for our first test.js is completely unchanged, so it looks exactly the same as it did before. But in our second test.js file, we have our describe block, and inside that we have 2 tests now, including our adding a new test for reporting test, which as expected has failed. So again, we can have a look at the code which is actually executed, as well as the error that's returned that we've already seen in the terminal. So we've seen how Mochawesome generates custom reports out of the box for us, and we've seen how this Mochawesome-reports directory gets generated with the Mochawesome reports inside. But we may want to change this directory or even the file name to something a little bit more useful and meaningful to our project. And we can do that by updating our script that we use to run our tests. We can add additional flags in order to configure these sorts of things. So we can do that now. The first thing I'm going to do is add a new flag as before, space hyphen hyphen, and this one's called reporter hyphen options. And from here we're going to add two new options to use. We're going to add one to change the directory that our reports go into, and then one to change the name of the files. So to change the directory, we can use report dir for report directory, and then we can specify the path to that directory. So say equals, and then if we just take the path from here, so instead of Mochawesome reports, let's change it to test reports. So our reports will get saved in a directory called test reports. And secondly, let's change the name of the files. At the moment it's just called Mochawesome, so let's change it to report file name, and again equals, and let's just call it test results, like that. Cool. So we've added our two new options, reporter options. First the report directory, and then the report file name. Now there are other options you can update, but for now we'll just use these two. So if I save my package.json file, and from the terminal let's run our tests again. So this is running. So our final test running now, which again will take a little bit longer because it's going to fail. I jump over to VS Code. You can see that we've now got a new directory called test reports, which is what we specified in our command here in our reporter options. And if I expand this, we have the same structure, but this time our reports are called test results instead of Mochawesome. So you can see how you can configure this to match what you require inside of your project. So now we've completed that, let's do a quick recap of what we've done during this video. So of course we first installed Mochawesome into our project, and then once we've done that we updated our script here to include this reporter flag specifying Mochawesome. We then added a second flag which was required for us to run our Mocha tests in parallel. This require Mochawesome/register flag. Running our test suite using these two flags produced a Mochawesome-report directory with two Mochawesome reports, one in HTML format and the second in JSON format. Adding some additional reporter options then allowed us to configure the directory that those reports are stored in, as well as providing a custom file name. So now we get reports in a new directory specified by us, as well as reports with the desired name. We also reviewed the output of the Mochawesome report, so we could see what success scenarios and failure scenarios look like when they're output in the HTML report. So that's it for this video, where we learned how to implement Mochawesome reports into our Selenium test suite. If you have any questions about what we discussed in this video or any of the other videos in this series, then you can find me on Twitter using the handle @RyanTester, or you can contact Lambda Test directly. Be sure to check out the Lambda Test blog, where you will find various blogs on a number of testing topics, including how to implement Mochawesome reports into your Mocha tests. And of course, be sure to check out the certification section of the Lambda Test website, where you can learn how you can become Lambda Test Selenium certified. So that's it for this video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.